Since I'm gonna be reading the new graphic novel later, let's talk about Final Space Season 1. Probably don't need to say this, but spoilers ahead, so hit that like button and come back later. So this is one of my all-time favorite animated shows during high school. My favorite character this season has to be Mooncake. Mooncake is considered to be the main mascot of this series, and yeah, I just love this little guy. He is so iconic to me. I love characters like Mooncake where you can barely understand what they're saying, but through the majority of the show, you can still understand a good deal of what they're saying just through visual context alone. I enjoy that as the series goes on, you kind of start to become a little bit like Gary and the rest of the team squad when they understand Mooncake the more time they spend with him. So yeah, this is one of my favorite shows when I was in high school, and it is such a crime to see of how underrated this series really is. I remember when I was first watching this series, I was thinking this was going to be a fun, wacky space adventure like Rick and Morty, but oh my gosh, this series can actually be a lot better than Rick and Morty in my opinion, especially when it comes to its storytelling. This series does a really great job with both its comedy and drama, where it never really feels like the two genres are overshadowing one another, and in fact, I like how they add some of the comedy to help explore some of the characters' personalities a little bit more. When I was rewatching this series to get ready for the graphic novel again, I kind of forgot of how annoying Quinn could be during the earlier days of this series, but I do like that despite how quickly the relationship between Gary and Quinn is, you do see a lot of great chemistry between the two, and Quinn does get some pretty good character development as the show goes on, especially in the third season. All the characters in the series are very likable in their own strange way, and yes, even Kevin. When I'm rewatching the earlier seasons of the show, I think one of the best aspects that comes from the first season is the opening minutes of the show. I always enjoyed the mystery to the opening as you're left wondering, why is Gary floating in space passing by all these bodies, which what looks to be the aftermath of some big battle. How did Gary get here? What's going to happen when he loses all of his oxygen? And even though this is a pretty dark moment, they do a pretty good job on adding a little bit of some fun comedy in the background too, with his conversations with Hugh to help pass the time, but also calm Gary down with him losing oxygen. If I ever had to say just one little problem though I have with this series, or mainly just the first season in general, it's that the show never really knows the type of tone it can go for sometimes. Even though it blends the comedy and drama very well, sometimes there are moments in the series where I feel like it doesn't really know if it's trying to go full on comedy or full on drama depending on the scene. Though when the moment does call for it, when the show wants to be dramatic and tragic, it can be that. And yep, this show definitely gets very traumatizing as the series goes on. I have 3 favorite moments in this season. My first favorite moment is Avocado's sacrifice. I think I can speak for every Final Space fan that this is one of the moments that really made us realize just how dark and tragic this series was gonna get. We've gotten little moments in this series where we can see the potential of how great Final Space is going to be, like with the moments where we see Gary's backstory, but the moment when we actually do start to lose the main characters, that's when we know that the stakes are really high and there are chances that nobody can really make it out of the situations we see them go through. And yes, I know, Avocado does technically survive this in the end and returns for season 2, but back then, we had no idea that Avocado was gonna return or not. And this was just a really tragic moment to see because he just got his son back after working so hard trying to save him from the Lord Commander. My second favorite moment is when Gary's dad sacrifices himself. Oof, this is definitely adding to more trauma to Gary. Like Avocado's sacrifice, this is not only another moment that got me crying like crazy, but it also made me realize of just how great the story of Final Space is going to be. This moment here surprisingly has a lot of great world building, like the rift in space-time, but also a little bit of a first look to the Lord Commander's backstory. Also, I always find hilarious seeing Gary telling John that the Lord Commander, who is apparently John's best friend around this time, is gonna become this very evil dude in the future. And while John has his doubts about that, he basically believes Gary almost instantly and starts beating up the Lord Commander with his son in the frozen time. And oh my gosh, I just cannot help but laugh every time I see this moment. I also enjoy some of the world building in this moment too, like how we see the Lord Commander used to be this relatively normal dude before he got corrupted, and seeing Gary beating up on the Lord Commander as he's in this frozen state adds a new layer to their relationship in the future, as Gary actually has a part in the Lord Commander's origin of becoming evil in the future. But when we see John having to leave Gary behind so he can close the breach temporarily and give Gary the chance to save the universe in the future, oh my gosh, that's when the emotions really do start to become real to me. We had a nice bit of comedy with the scene of them beating up the Lord Commander, but now we gotta focus on all of the tragedy and just see how tragic Gary's character really is, as even when he's given the chance to see his dad again, in the end he can't do anything to stop his dad from going through with the same decision he did all those years ago. And it is so sad to see that not only does Gary have to relive the pain of losing his dad again, but now he actually gets to see up close of how his dad passed away. And my final favorite moment of this season is when Gary makes his decision to stay behind and not to go to the afterlife with his dad. The entirety of this season felt like it was building up to this moment here, where we see the outcome of what happens when Gary loses his oxygen. When Gary lost his oxygen, he was basically clinically dead and was in the afterlife to see his dad, but his dad gave him an option where he could either go over with him or stay behind to find his friends. And while it is nice to see that Gary decides to live on another day and find his friends, it is sad to see that he has to say goodbye to his dad yet again and go through a life that's a lot more tragic than the life he ever went through during the entirety of this season. Seriously, if you thought that season 1 was bad for Gary, oh boy, you are not ready for the rest of this show. I give this season a 9.5 out of 10, giving it an A. Anyway, that's the review. Go down to his comments, tell me what you thought of Final Space Season 1. Share his vote with all your friends. And hit that like and follow button to cut it with all my latest content. See ya!